Welcome to A Beer with Brad, episode 25. That's right, the start of year 3. Tonight I'm going to talk about sunrise and sunset photography, but first let's talk about the beer. Tonight I'm having a barrel-aged stout from Zipline Brewing Company, simply called the Stout. This beer's been aged in bourbon and also rye whiskey barrels for 2 years. This one's coming in pretty hot at 13.9%, but it's the barrel age beers really seem to take the edge off that, where they have a real nice flavor to them. So the Stout by Zipline Brewing. That's another really nice beer. Zipline, they have a lot of great beers, but it does have that bourbon barrel finish, but it also has a little bit more of a bite because of that. I don't know, probably the rye whiskey barrels, but really great flavor. Really nice beer there. So as you remember, I've had Zipline on one other time. They're a brewery out of Lincoln, Nebraska. Been around 11 years now, since 2012. They do a lot of great beers, everything from these dark, heavy, barrel-aged beers. They have a lot of great IPAs, and then some really nice light beers, like a German-style Kolsch, and then they have a beer called Dear Old Nebraska U, which is just a nice, easy-drinking lager. So a lot of great things come from Zipline. Like I said, they're in Lincoln, but they have 2 tap rooms in Omaha. One about as far west in Omaha as you can go, and one about as far east in Omaha as you can go. So, got it all covered. So tonight, I'm going to talk about sunrise and sunset photography. At the end of, I guess a couple times last month's video, I asked for suggestions, and then right there in my inbox right away was a message from Steve Branscombe. I've talked about Steve many times on this channel over the years. Steve's a great local photographer here in Omaha. Does a lot of sports. That's how I know him, from doing sports, Creighton, College World Series, stuff like that. So Steve said that I need to talk about my sunrise and sunset photography, kind of how I plan that, how I know when it's going to be good, what I look for. So tonight we're going to go over some satellite maps, some forecasting tools. Somewhere I got my phone that has a phone app on it, and kind of show you what I start to look for when I'm getting ready to do a sunrise or sunset photo, and kind of go over maybe one of my best sunsets ever towards the end. So let's jump right into it here. Or Mother Nature. So whatever you think you know, or however much planning you do, or however you think you know what you're doing, it's Mother Nature, and it always could change. There can always be a wrench thrown into your plans. So just ask the local meteorologists this winter, who've been pulling their hair out about some of these winter forecasts that have gone bust. I'm not a meteorologist, and so I don't even know what they're going through, but I'm just saying, Mother Nature, no matter if you're just trying to find a nice sunset or you're trying to forecast the winter, Mother Nature's always going to put a wrinkle in it. So whatever you do, be prepared to be flexible and maybe try it again a different night. So one of the first tools that I look at is, I have a phone app called Clear Outside, and I don't need to pull up on my phone because no one will ever see it on my phone. Okay, so here's what the app looks like. This is a screenshot I took off my phone. We'll just start at the top. It has the date, and then next to it is sunrise, sunset, moonrise, moonset. Has a lot of cool features on it. Basically, you're looking at the time here. It's in military time. If you don't know military time, you just subtract 12 or add 12. Add 12 would be a way. It's really easy. I don't know. When I worked in the grocery store when I was a kid, all our schedules were on military time. So I've known how to read military time for a long time. But just if it's 7 p.m., add 12, you got 19. So 1900 hours is 7 p.m. Next slide is your sunset, basically showing you the bright yellow is the full sun, daytime. You got your red line here at high noon, and then when you start to get into golden hour, blue hour, nocturnal twilight, and then dark. The moon, I believe that's showing when the moon is at its peak, but I'm not positive on that because I don't really use this app for the moon. So the next 4 lines are the clouds, and this is what I use this app for. 99% of the information I use on the app comes from these 4 lines, and actually 90. The two I really care about are the low clouds and the high clouds. High clouds is what you want for a great sunset. So you want to see a lot of high clouds before. If you're doing sunset, you want to see a lot of high clouds before sunset, and then it clearing out right afterwards. And you don't want the low and medium clouds. So what happens is if you have low and medium clouds, it's going to block the high clouds. And the reason I want to see the high clouds early before it gets dark and then gone after it gets dark, the clouds move from west to east, and the sun is setting in the west. So if you have no clouds after sunset, you're showing a trend that the sky is clearing from west to east, because that's the way they move. And so if you have clouds above you but it's clear to the west, that gives a gap for sunlight to get in and light up the bottom of those clouds. So what I basically look for at sunset, like I said, is clouds, high clouds in the afternoon and evening, and then clearing right at sunset or right after sunset. Usually when I see that, it's pretty good luck. If it's high clouds all the way through, it probably isn't going to be as good. And then medium clouds, you can also get some nice sunsets, but just so you know that window of the nice sunset, a lot of times with the medium and low clouds, is shorter or really short. The higher the clouds up, the longer your sunset time is going to be. And then the lower the clouds, the more brief that window is going to be. If I'm not looking at that app, I'll go and I'll look at the satellite. And basically the satellite is the same thing. If it's sunset, you want to see a clearing out in western Nebraska past the clouds. So basically from Grand Island west, you want that to be pretty clear and have the clouds above Omaha and Lincoln. Sunrise is just the opposite. So you want the clouds moving in from west to east and then kind of stopping just into Iowa. So then when your sun's coming in here from the east, you're getting to see sun. So draw a couple lines on here. Let's just do this real quick. This is the first time I've ever actually used a screen recording software, so kind of cool. Play with it, we'll see how it goes. So basically, this time of year, your sun's going to be coming in. We're almost to the spring equinox, so it's going to be coming in almost straight from the west. And so basically, you're going to want your clouds to end somewhere around in here. But like I said, if they're really, really high clouds, that could be all the way back into here. So, even further. And then if we're doing the morning, sun this time of year coming in straight from the east, you're going to want your clouds to end back into here somewhere, so that the sun's lighting them up above you, but there's plenty of clear sky out, in the middle of Iowa that is letting that light through. And then, I'm sure most people know, but in the summer your sun's coming in more like this. Winter you're more like this. Sunsets the same way. Middle of December you're coming in more like this. Middle of July you're coming in more like this. So you got to pay attention to the time of year to know where you want those gaps to be. And the sun is the gaps in the clouds don't have to be big, but they have to be in the right location. So the sun, as light leaves, like a headlight in your car, it leaves it's 6 inches around or whatever. But as it projects out, it gets wider and wider. So, like I said, the sun doesn't have to be, the hole doesn't have to be huge, but it has to be there, and it has to, kind of be in the right angle to get that light projecting out to you. So this is a website called windy.com. It's a cool website. The reason that this is probably the easiest for most people to use is that it shows clouds in the nighttime. If you go over to like a regular visible satellite, and this time of day, you're going to get nothing but a black map. This is the College of DuPage. It's the GEOS 16 satellite. It's an awesome satellite. There's a ton of options on here. If it was the daytime, you can look at more things. But in the nighttime, you can look at the infrared and see the different cloud tops, different thicknesses. So the first, I guess the first thing I always do is I look outside. That's my first visual. And then I use the Clear Outside app, and then I would go to one of these satellite maps. If you never played with the windy.com, there are so many cool things on there. Besides just having the satellite, it's called the windy.com because it actually does show the wind. So if you're, I always talk about firework photos, you never want to have the wind blowing in your face. This is really cool. You can zoom way right down into the streets, and it shows, it's harder to see when you're zoomed in that close, but, all these little dots, that's the direction the wind's moving. There are other cool things on there, like the weather radar. You can zoom out, you see storms. It's a really nice radar. Actually, I believe it even shows lightning on there, which is cool, because some of the phone app radars, you actually have to pay to see the lightning. If you want to photograph storms, lightning is usually a good sign that they're intensifying. So it's kind of a cool app to have, or ability to see the lightning. And then the next tool that is out there, I don't use this very much, but from what I have looked at, it does seem pretty accurate. So this is called Sunset WX, WeatherX. And it basically predicts the sunrise or the sunset. So this is the sunrise tomorrow, the forecast for the sunrise tomorrow, and it looks like it is going to be pretty good around here, and then really good into most of Iowa. The brighter the color, the better the sunset. The darker the color, the darker the blues, the worse the sunset or sunrise in this case. Here's the sun. I believe this is still tonight's sunset forecast, which I don't know. I don't know that I paid that close of attention to see how accurate it was. From my perspective, when I was driving home tonight, the clouds looked like they were getting pretty thick, and the satellite earlier looked like they were pretty thick. So I don't know if there was a gap that let sunlight in and hit the bottom of these. It could very well have happened that it was a pretty good sunset tonight, but I didn't pay attention. So those are kind of some of the tools. Some other things I've learned is, that in the summertime, the haze and humidity can really mute the colors. So you want to, those hot, hazy, humid days, you're not always going to get the best colors for sunset. And then in the wintertime, there could be like some beautiful days with these high overcast, like real wispy clouds. You think you're going to get the best sunset, but something about that cool air when it moves in, you can get an amazing sunset or you can get absolutely nothing. And what I think happens is if there's a lot of moisture, the sun's out and it's warming it up and melting snow and unfreezing the ground, and a lot of moisture starts to get in the air, I think it kind of mutes the colors. But if it's a dry late fall, early winter, or even if it's a dry winter and you get the high overcast coming in and there's not a lot of snow on the ground, then you'll really get colors. My opinion is some of the best colors for sunrise and sunset are from about mid-September right through the Christmas holiday. And then after that, after the first of the year, it seems to be kind of hit or miss. Spring is all over the map. And then summer, like I said, when the humidity rolls in, it kind of gets to the point where you don't get a lot of colors. But there's always exceptions. When it comes to sunrise, sunset, there's always exceptions. So let me close down a couple things here. So let's pull up Adobe here. And then I got a little folder made. So we're going to go over one of the, we're opening up Photoshop apparently. One of the best sunsets I ever had. It was a warm, this was taken May 13th, 2023. And so what had happened, it was a really warm spring day. One of those days where the humidity was super low and the temperatures skyrocketed. So around here, if you don't know, when the lower humidity, the easier it is for the temperature to rise and fall. So if you get a really dry day in the spring and the sun comes out and everything comes together with the wind, that temperature could just skyrocket. And it was almost up to 100 degrees in May, which is pretty unheard of. But as the sun started to set, my wife and I, we were out on a bike ride, and I started seeing these colors. I'm like, these are pretty cool. We should get back to the car and maybe take a couple pictures. So we were coming back, rode our bikes over the pedestrian bridge, came back, and it started looking even better and better and better. I'm like, we gotta go. And of course, when we're leaving the parking lot, I see this really cool old train car. So had to stop and take a picture of the train car. It's a historic Pullman car. It's stored up in North Omaha. They were pulling it out to hook it onto an Amtrak train that night. So stopped, took a picture of it, and then got the sunset. So sunset that night on May 13th was 8:34 p.m. And I took this picture at 8:35 p.m. So we were riding our bikes on the Iowa side of the river, had to ride down the river, cross the pedestrian bridge, put the bikes on the car, and then start driving, and then stop, see this train, pull over. And so this is already 1 minute after sunset. So, probably going on 20-25 minutes that you could already tell it was going to be a great sunset that night. So sunset was 8:34, took this picture at 8:35, and then went over to Council Bluffs, got set up on top of the parking garage, looking back towards Omaha. This picture here was taken at 8:44, which is then 10 minutes after sunset. Or no, sorry, got to the casino parking garage at 8:44, 10 minutes after sunset, got the camera set up, and then took this photo here that you see at 9:09, which is 35 minutes after sunset. So, to me, there's a couple good times to take sunset photos or sunrise photos, and that is the later, closer to the twilight hour, the blue hour, when you get a lot more of those deep colors, or right at technical sunset, or right before technical sunset during the golden hour. So, for those of you who don't know, it's daylight, golden hour, magic hour, twilight, then blue hour, then there's like a nocturnal or a nautical twilight, and then dark. So there's all these different stages, but anything between golden hour and dark, there's cool times. But I like either on the first half of that or the second half of that. So, that train car was pretty close to the first half of it. Here we are, 35 minutes after sunset. This is the twilights, probably the end of civil twilight, closer to like the nautical twilight. In fact, I wrote on here, civil twilight ended at 9:05. And I took this photo at 9:09, which means it would have been a nautical twilight. And nautical twilight means that it's dark enough for sailors to navigate by the stars. So this was pretty late, pretty dark. And then the next photo here is the same photo taking it at 9:13. This is the last photo, but you can see at 9:13, which is 39 minutes after sunset, the colors were still pretty fantastic. I mean, you still could do a lot with that. And then, we packed up and left, and I don't remember now, 10 years later, if, how much longer this went on after that. But I can tell you from experience, you probably still had another 10 or 15 minutes after that, which would have put it close to 50 to 55 minutes. So, and like I said, you could have started shooting the golden light that night at probably 8:15. So that's one of the extreme, like the longest that I've ever seen, like amazing light the whole time through, from the golden hour right through the dark. It was one of those exceptional nights. And then I've been in the complete opposite, where we've been out waiting, and it gets to the point where there's so many clouds, you think there's not going to be any sunrise or any sunset, and all of a sudden you see one little pink cloud kind of off to the side, and you just watch that pink cloud, and it just spreads and spreads and spreads, and then next thing you know, the whole sky lights up, and then 2 minutes later, it's like a switch, and it's off, and that's it, that's done. So, I've had sunsets where it's lasted 5 minutes, and then sunsets where it's lasted well over an hour. So you never know what you're going to get, but kind of looking at the clouds, knowing what you have to work with is a good start. And then, I've been photographing sunset basically since, well, when I really got into it and paid attention since 2006. So, here we're getting close to 20 years of experience watching the clouds. And even if I'm not out shooting, I'm watching the clouds. My wife will tell you that if it's a good sunset and I know I'm missing it, I'll be upstairs pacing around, peeking out the blinds, going on the porch trying to look. We'll live down kind of in a valley, so I can't see the sunset the best, but I'll be pacing around for sure. And then sunrise, like I said, a lot of it's the same, just done in reverse. I do like photographing sunrise, and I feel like sunrise is a little more like a lot of sunset is like it just, I don't know, it's a lot of times quick, and it's really, I don't know, vibrant's the right word, but sunset seems to be more, or sunrise seems to be more relaxing. It kind of starts a little different. It's a little different pace for me, and then it just has kind of just a different look. It's 2 times a day. It's the same sun, it's the same area, but I think just the different weather patterns and the different the way things work. Sunset just always has a little bit different look. So, and I guess tonight, mostly what I've gone over is shooting into the sun. There's plenty of times where I like to put my back to the sun and actually shoot the less vibrant light looking away from the sun. There's a lot of times too on a really crazy sunset, if you have your back to the sun and you're looking the opposite way, there'll be a lot of cool pinks and blues, a little more subdued light. And there's a lot of people that like the real punchy, bright sunsets, but there's also a lot of people that like the the more soft pastels, the blues of looking away from the sun. So it's kind of to each their own. I enjoy the mix. I don't like, it's one of those things. I like living in Nebraska because there's 4 seasons, and by the time I get sick of one, it changes. It's kind of like shooting the sunset. I like that there, sunrise and sunset, there's so many different options where you can look towards the sun, look away from the sun. There's some crazy sunsets where you're looking 90 degrees, straight north, and the sun's reflecting all the way up there. So many cool things. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight. I hope I covered or made sense here. I kind of put this together pretty quickly. I've been under the weather most of the week. I've been fighting a cold, so I didn't get as much time planning for this as I wanted to, but I think I was able to get all my thoughts out and get all the right maps pulled up. So if I missed anything or you have any questions, feel free to just shoot me an email, brad@brandwilliamsphotography.com, or leave a message on the video. I can always get back to you with an answer. Like I said, Steve Branscombe came up with the idea for this month. I'm always looking for more ideas and suggestions for the future months. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I will, or any suggestions, let me know, and I'll try to get it worked into a video. So again, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this stout, and we'll see you again next month.